This is Caitlin Remmert with the Samuel Proctor Oral History Program at the University of Florida. Today is November 9th, 2024 at 9:52, and we are at Dixie's house in her front yard to interview Dixie and Kelly Hagen for the Pensacola Environmental History Project. I'm joined by my colleagues from the Oral History Program and the Gulf Scholars Program. First, I'll just ask you both to introduce yourself individually and just tell us a little about what you do.
Go ahead.
Hitting beauty first. Dixie Wilkinson. I'm retired. I spent 36 years at the police department, or the city of Pensacola. I retired in 08, and I don't do too much, just what retirees do. Try to travel a little bit and hang out at my yard, because I love my yard.
I'm Kelly Hagen. What are we saying about ourselves? Just what we do?
Yeah, just introduce yourself for...
Right on. I am a bartender on Navarre Beach and full-time mom and environmental activist when I can muster the energy and enthusiasm. But I've found a renewed sense of purpose and enthusiasm this week, so I'll be more involved than I have been for sure.
And the first thing I want to ask is, Dixie, what was your first impression of Kelly when she first moved in?
Oh boy. Well, they moved in 2016. We had just put our carport up here, and I see this little guy over there, and I'm watching, and he's looking down at a hole underneath their house, and all of a sudden this young lady comes out with a
You probably couldn't tell I was a young lady.
No, I didn't know what it was coming out at the time. It was a hazmat suit on and mask and all this stuff, and the person was coming out at the time, and I'm standing there going, this is going to be interesting. And she comes out with a shovel with a dead possum on it. She had gone under the house. They bought the house just recently. They were there, and the smell inside was just horrible because in old houses, everything comes up. And she come out and found her dead possum, and I told my husband, I said, I'm really going to like this girl. I'm really going to like this girl because she is not very fearful of anything. Of course, her husband was over there almost gagging.
That's true.
You know,
That's facts. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's a fact. But and I love her enthusiasm. I just kind of got burned out with all this stuff going on. I mean, I've been looking at it since '82 when they closed it down, trying to get something done too. And I was burned out. And this little girl comes in here, and she has got the energy, and she starts it all back up again and gets everybody's attention. And it's just like, I got me an ally here. I'm just gonna, yes ma'am, keep going, keep going. She did, and she's got their attention, as y'all know. I think that's probably why y'all are all here, because you found out because of this one. So, yeah. And there's, of course, I love her to death anyway. She's my daughter, so I've already adopted her and Johny, and of course, Enzo, my grandson.
And we've heard a little bit about how you guys first met. And Kelly, I was wondering, what was your first impression of Dixie?
Be nice.
Yeah, well, like I said, literally our first introduction was me coming out in the hazmat suit with like the mask and the headlamp and the dead possum on the shovel, and I was like, hi, I'm your new neighbor. And she was, her and Mike were laughing and always very kind. We'd walk outside, they'd say hi to us every morning, and so, we're both kind of, Dixie was outside a lot, we're outside a lot, so we ended up talking more and more and kind of getting to know each other and realizing that, we had some of the same interests, and I was very curious about the ACW site, and Dixie had been here her whole life, and so was able, to provide that information. I've got that like investigative journalist kind of ask you a million questions, and so she was game to answer all the questions. So we became fast friends and kind of and had that in common. So yeah.
And how did you guys kind of get to know each other and build trust with each other?
Oh, you asking me? Oh. Well, I mean, just daily. I mean, I was retired, when they moved in. So, I had nothing better to do but be nosy and check on her and see what they're up to. And no, it just seems like she is always so sweet. And she still is, don't get me wrong. And we just always talk. I mean, you just kind of like a family member that you actually like. And you just, you just grow to like family with her and Tony. And then when Enzo came around, oh my goodness, it just makes it better. I'm always one that believes in having great neighbors, because, especially when you start getting a little older, I know if I called this girl or Tony, they'd be right over. And I've got double because I have my stalker next door, my son, that always wants to know what I'm doing. Which you ought to get, he's going to kill me for that one because I'm always stalking them, I think. But anyway, it's just good to have great neighbors, and they are the best. And I'm so glad, they don't want to just buy a house, fix it up, and resell it and leave us, So I don't think I'm worried about that anymore.
No, we're here to stay. You're stuck with us.
Yes, that's great.
Yeah, no, I feel the same way. I feel like it's kind of something that isn't as common nowadays, just to have neighbors that you actually see daily and talk to and can say, hey, I'm going out of town for the weekend. Can you come water my houseplants? Which Dixie has done a bazillion times. Hey, we're going to be gone, like a really long time today. Would you mind going and let Lexi out, my dog, a few times? Or, we're going to be gone for a week. Don't need you to do anything, but just keep an eye out on, what's going on. Let me know if anything crazy happens.
Get your mail in.
Yeah, get your mail.
Because
exactly.
This generation never checks their mailbox. Yeah. My son doesn't either, so that's where I stalk them.
We don't mail anything, and we don't.
I know, but
anyway,
you get me.
I know. Yeah. But yeah, so it's really good just to have actually have neighbors, and not every other house is like an Airbnb or somebody that's we live in a transient kind of community with all the Air Force, military, Air Force and Navy kind of in the area, and so just snowbirds, tourists, everybody's coming and going. So it's nice to have a constant with a neighbor that isn't going anywhere. And I know Dixie's not going anywhere. I'm not going anywhere either. So.
Nope. I have my burial place right up there. I told them to bury me in the backyard. That way I can protect my trees. No,
she'll haunt anybody.
I'll haunt them, yeah, especially my son.
And what's your favorite memory as neighbors or friends with each other that you can think of?
Ooh, well, memories. We got a bunch of those, but the biggest thing I love is when we're out here, we'll put a log in there, or we'll have a solo, and if I can catch her, because they work so much. But whenever she can see us and she comes over, and now she brings Enzo, and we just sit out here and just have a fire going, a glass of wine, just chilling, because I like to see her chill, because she's a go-getter and she never stops, and just being together, when we can, when, I'm waiting on her to retire before I die, so, where we can spend more time together.
I would love to retire ASAP. I'll work on that.
Get that lotto ticket.
I'm going to be Dixie needs me to retire, so sorry, Tony.
But no, I mean, that's just one. But we do a lot of things, down with the association. I mean, she really, I don't know if that's a great memory, because sometimes we get aggravated.
Sometimes it's a bit traumatic, the things.
Right. But just having to see them, and just be able to communicate with them, and I don't know, it's just a lot of stuff.
It's hard to put my finger on it, but I'd say when we actually get to just hang out by the fire and chill, for sure.
Yeah.
I don't know about favorite memory, definitely not favorite, but there's some distinct memories that I have of Dixie, and which has kind of helped kick me into more activation mode. Like when we, found out that the tree in where that big White House is now that was going to be cut down, and just knowing how upset. So Dixie is cool, calm, collected, just easygoing, level-headed, doesn't get fired up about much unless it's a big deal. So when she does and she's sad or upset, it, makes me sad and upset, and I want to do something about it. So those times when I've gotten calls from her about things, and I'm like, oh no, all right, well, guess we need to kick into gear. So.
And we did, and we got the new ordinance, the new tree ordinance started. It's still a little tweaking on it, but it's a lot harder to take down a almost 300-year-old heritage oak tree like that was, that we all grew up in. You know, I did, you know, growing up in it. But yeah, it's because of this one.
Well, it's because of you.
Well, I just was the behind the scenes because she's the one that can go in there and get their attention. She didn't want me to get their attention. I had weapons and, you know, PD and, no, I'm just kidding. I would never do that. Take that back. No, but.
Don't air that.
Don't air that.
It's all just jokes.
No, don't mean, yeah, it's jokes. But anyway. No, she's the calm before the storm. Well, sorta.
I don't
You
know.
calm
I don't
me
know
down.
how to,
She calms me down, and I try to calm her. But then you got to just turn her loose because I love it. You know, I like seeing it, but not stress. I don't want the stress on her. But we have a good time. I guess what I'm saying, we have a really good time together. We do, no matter what it is. We tackle it, you know, and I sit on it when she tackles it. Okay, I'll shut up.
Funny.
I do have a question for Dixie.
Oh gosh.
Prior to Kelly moving here, what was your role in community organizing and advocacy?
Well, way back 100 years ago, I started the first neighborhood watch kind of thing where we all had a little meeting. Matter of fact, we met here in my house, you know, just a small group of us that were like looking out for the neighbors and making sure no criminal activity and all that. And it went on for a few years, you know, but then after that, I had my son, and a lot of things like her, you know, you become a full-time mom. You know, I was a single mom at the time, and working full-time, and I kind of slowed down on a few things, but I've always had to watch. You know, it's just something you just do, and it's just a normal thing. You see something out of. So I've continued to do that, but I moved away from here for just briefly in my prior life, as I say, and but I wasn't gone long because I couldn't stand it. When this house was built in the 1940s, early 40s or late 39, but anyway, it came available. It was a foreclosure, and when I had the opportunity to buy, I bought it, and I haven't moved since, and that was in early 1990. When I came, you know. But we really didn't have an active, we had some, association going on, and I'd attend them, but I really wasn't as involved because the people, and I don't want to talk bad about people, but it was just like they were making people mad instead of getting City Hall to listen to us. And you kind of got the run into that, the end of it, when you moved here, and you know. But I've always been available to try to do my best, you know, to help this neighborhood, because this is my hood, as I call it. This is my neighborhood and her neighborhood and my son's now, and I just want it great for them. Mm-hmm. That's my biggest thing. Mm-hmm. But she really helped when she got here. She pushed me.
I can't speak to what Dixie was or wasn't doing, but just knowing your personality, you're an observer, you're always keeping an eye out, you're always watching, you're always, walking around the neighborhood talking to people. So she's always been in the loop and knows what's going on and has always cared about this place and kept a close eye on things. Yeah, so even though you weren't necessarily...
Yeah, I was still doing the same thing before you, but you just gave me some more fire. She did. She pushed me a little bit more. Mm-hmm.
And then kind of going off of that, Kelly, how did you navigate as a newcomer into a community that was already experiencing these issues and had already done some advocating against them?
Yeah, I mean, I was really interested from the moment, we knew that we were going to get this place. My real estate agent had disclosed what it was, and I'd never heard of an ACW or a Superfund site before. I didn't know what that was. I was like, Superfund? What does that mean? Oh, fund. Oh, okay. Mm-hmm. So I started digging in almost immediately, just out of curiosity. I was a little bit freaked out by the like environmental concern. I'm like, is it going to be safe for me to live here? So some of those questions I got answered pretty immediately, and I think it was we moved in late 20, or we closed in December of 2016, and so the neighborhood association, which had been active previously, was starting back up again in 2017, and I had expressed interest to Dixie, and she had told the other people, and so they were happy to have any. It's hard to get people in your neighborhood to like get involved. So they were really stoked to have someone involved, someone young.
I was gonna say that, but
I was, I think Tony and I were like some of the youngest people in the neighborhood when we moved in here. And so, yeah, I was happy to be involved. I was happy to just learn and get, put the pieces together, talking to different people in the neighborhood. Like I said, that kind of like scratches that investigative journalist itch of mine, just constantly curious and asking a lot of questions. So everybody was warm and welcoming, and I was happy to sit back and just take in the information, and also then take that and try to figure out that, again, fueled me too. I'm like, this has been sitting here for 40 years with nothing done. Like, what is going on? So just listening to everybody's, stories about how long the roller coaster of, activism and energy into getting stuff done, and then it's fallen off because everybody's, just kind of expecting something to get done, and then nothing does, and that's it's hard. It's hard to like maintain that drive and energy to like find a solution when it seems hopeless. So that pushed me even more to kind of dig in. And
it did. I'm telling you, I wasn't sure what she was eating or drinking, but she had to go get them. And of course, she tried. She did this all too when she had an infant son too. I mean, this is just not. She didn't just quit when she had that baby, and but
probably should have. But no, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
But. And that's what it takes. Because, people like me that's been here all my life, and some of the other older board people there that's still on the board. I mean, I wouldn't call us old. But anyway, we need people that's younger and getting involved and stuff and caring about. We don't want a lot of people that were started on the board when even she was here have moved out, gone, left. And but getting people to get interested. I know we got a young couple that just finished that house over there, and they're in their 30s, and just I think they're going to stay a while. They're not going to put the for sale sign up after they built it. So it's stuff like that. That we need to get involved in, just to look out for get some things done around here.
And how have you guys like kind of worked together in community organizing?
I'll let you answer that.
Okay.
She knows better. Just show up.
I mean, I guess going all the way back to maybe the first year on the board, Dixie was on the board with me as well, and there was quite a bit of movement and around ACW. So I was in contact with Peter Thorpe. It seemed like, kind of like it has forever. Everything is in place. We're just waiting on the funding, and the funding's right around the corner. There was a lot of I remember just trying to like survey the neighborhood on what the neighborhood would like to see in the future after, for future reuse after the remediation was complete. What kind of park would you like to see here? And I was really interested in kind of canvassing the neighborhood, trying to see. I was surprised at how many people lived here that didn't know what ACW was, what a Superfund site was. Sure, the people that had been here a long time, but there are some people that I met whose real estate agents did not disclose that information to them. They just saw that it was a big fenced-in area and saw the danger, keep out sign, So I'd say we kind of came together on that. Dixie's always down to walk around and knock on doors, or at least walk with me. And So we did a lot of that, a lot of canvassing the neighborhood, knocking on doors, putting flyers, just trying to get information out. So she's always been
We tried.
down to ride for all
Yeah.
that stuff.
And even with all her effort and all that, still there was some people that just, you couldn't get them to come to the meetings. You can't.
It's still like that.
Still today, yeah. And it's sad because it's your neighborhood, unless you're planning on moving the next day, you should be interested in what's going on, or you're just going to have to live with it, when it happens, if you don't get involved. So anyway, that surprised me, even the youngest, some young people that just,
I mean, I think
whatever,
that's yeah.
But no offense, but it's just getting them going. But I think we're doing in the right direction now. I think we're going there slowly.
Yeah. I mean, things are happening not solely based on what we've done or not done. The Bipartisan Infrastructure Act, which kind of like breathed funding life back into the EPA, is really the reason that this project now is actually, it's like really going to, I mean, God, I don't even want to.
Don't hoax it.
Don't jinx it. Anyway, we're actually in the. It's real that this project is going to get finished, but that wasn't. It was just kind of sitting there waiting for funding forever, So yeah, I'm feeling optimistic about that. Hopefully.
Well, you know how I feel.
So yeah, it's moving in the right direction,
right
and we'll
direction.
continue to try to keep the neighborhood informed. That's like the main goal.
And yesterday we talked with Mike, and he gave us like a lot of updates going on the site. I was wondering if you both could give us a little update from like your side of things of the progress going on here on the site.
So we get it was kind of weekly emails for a while. I don't know when's
from
the
Peter.
last.
It's been a while. He hadn't gave us one in a while.
Yeah, we haven't gotten emails in a while. So as far as okay, I'm gonna just jump into this because
Jump into it, girl.
So I hope, and I haven't been able to confirm this, but I hope that this project is officially considered underway. My fear was that Trump would be reelected and that the EPA would be dismantled, and that if our project had not commenced, that there was a possibility that funding could be reallocated. And so I spoke to a couple different lawyers who told me two different things. One told me absolutely positively not, that wouldn't happen under any circumstances. The other lawyer, which was the lawyer for the EPA, said it's unlikely, but that is a possibility. So
where are you?
So here we are today, with staring down the barrel of a second Trump presidency, and I'm, I think I've been in a bit of a mourning period this week, but I will start making phone calls on Monday just to see where we're at, because basically, we've got until January to really, I'm going to talk to Peter and just Thorpe from the EPA and say, is this project officially started? And if it's not, can we do anything to get the funding, get the money flowing so that there's less possibility of, so I don't, at this point, I hope that it's considered underway already, but I don't have absolute 100% confirmation of that, which I hope to get those answers in the coming week. Because if we don't, then it's scary times, and this whole thing could be the rug ripped out from under, and we could be waiting another 40 years for funding. So that's like the doomsday worst case scenario. I don't think it's highly likely, but I just want to, with 100% certainty, find out so that I can calm my brain down and focus my energy in other places.
But yeah, and that's it, probably in a nutshell right there. I mean, we don't know now. We had it going. But they had it going, and then everything's kind of stopped. We hadn't, like you said, Peter hadn't got back with us in a while, but
yeah, they were doing a lot of the preliminary kind of activities over there, and he was keeping us updated. It's a lot of stuff like
pulling those big tanks out.
Pulling tanks out, taking them off site. So like not, it's all the just the preliminary actions,
Getting
kind
it
of
ready
like
for-
preparing the site, but not actual getting into the remediation yet. But still, moving in a good direction, it seemed like, for sure.
I'm sorry, that's coming from Maritime Park, y'all, so, with the wind. Nice music.
And I'm kind of wondering how the relationship has been with the neighborhood and the local government, and if that's changed at all in the past few months.
Do you want me to speak to that?
Yeah, I do, because you're right in the middle of it.
So when I came on, when I moved here and kind of got involved, like I said, I was new to local politics, and I really wasn't planning to get involved, but Pensacola is a little city, and I'd never lived in a little city before, and I had environmental issues happening literally in my backyard, basically. So I got involved by proxy, just because it was in my face, and Dixie was upset, and I was like, well, I better do something about this. No, thank you. I needed it. So anyway, I'm trying to even think the original question. I've like spaced out now. Sorry.
How is the relationship between the community and local government?
Yes. Okay. So when I got involved, Keith Wilkins was the assistant, he was the city administrator. So the person directly under the mayor. Which, funny, I did not know. I'm gonna take a drink of my coffee here because my throat is. Again, I was super naive about city government and the hierarchy and what it was. So Keith was just at our neighborhood meetings, and I got his cell phone number, and I would like text this guy pretty regularly. I'm annoying. Like if I have questions, I just text and call, and I didn't know who he was really. I just thought he's a city guy because I didn't know, like I said, the structure and the hierarchy. So after some time, I found out, oh, you're like literally the dude that's right under the mayor. Awesome. I didn't realize how important he was. But speaking to that, he was always available, always answering my texts, my phone calls, always showing up at our meetings, And so I will say that now that we have a new administration, we don't see that same just connection with the community that we definitely have a disconnect with the current city government, and we are trying to keep that relationship tight. We're trying to keep all the information, and they are giving it to us. It's not that they're not. But there's been some alarming things. There was a request from the city to Peter Thorpe, and I'm glad this is going on the record somewhere, but there was a request from the city to Peter Thorpe, the director, of the ACW site for the EPA, whatever his title is, to basically not communicate with us directly anymore.
Wow.
And Peter Thorpe said, absolutely not. It is my job to communicate with the community and keep them up to date on everything. So good on him. And he let us know that the city had said that. And so that was that was an eye opener. That's lets us know where we stand with the city. So that and like my goal is to keep us having a seat at the table, keep us involved in the decision-making process, and just, up to date with what's going on. So I, first and foremost, want to maintain a good relationship with the city.
We have to.
We have to.
Yeah.
So, we know where we stand with them now, and we just have to continue to let them know we're here, we're not going anywhere. We demand to be a part of the conversation. We're not going to settle for less. We're not going away. But, when they're supposed to be giving us monthly updates, they don't. I have to call. I have to do these things. There are monthly meetings happening now. Like I said, the past couple months, things are rolling, but it's mostly because Keith is involved. And having Keith involved it's invaluable because his knowledge of ACW goes way back to his work with the county. I mean,
in the city.
20, 30 years ago. And then his time at the city, so he understands the structure, the decisions that are made. He understands kind of strategically how we should go about doing things, why. When somebody tells us one thing, he's like, no, that's not how that, So he has this perspective that none of us have. So having him on our team is just, we're so fortunate and lucky to have him. But there is a notable difference between the administration when he was involved and when he stepped back. And I won't even say, I mean, he retired before the last mayor was done with his term, and there was a notable difference as soon as he stepped away. I mean, we lost our environmental champion at the city and haven't had anyone even close to him in that
He comes
place.
to our meetings now just on his own, just to.
Oh yeah, he's working pro bono for
us,
Sanders
for
Beach
Sanders
on
Beach.
behalf of us to
We
advocate ACW
really
issues. So
appreciate
yeah,
that, and he can tell us when, he's
Yeah.
pretty.
He's the best.
Yes, he is.
He's been keeping me going when I've lost recently. Just being burnt out. He's been keeping me on track. So I'm grateful for that.
It is a lot.
And then when we talked to Mike yesterday, he also mentioned the CRA a little bit. So I was kind of wondering, like, the role they played in this whole thing.
Go ahead. Go ahead. You start.
Well, I don't know all the behind the story, because we just found out that the CRA apparently acquired that in 2006, and I don't think anybody down here knew about it. Is that correct? Am I getting that right? Because that's what Mike had told me too. And
Sanders Beach had been approached at that time. This is my understanding, I obviously wasn't here, but they'd been approached and said, hey, are you guys interested in being in the CRA?
Right.
They said no. It sounded like kind of HOA, lots of rules and stuff.
back then, the CRA is not the CRA of today. It's a whole different group, and they really, they just, I don't know. I'm trying to remember because 2006, but I know they just really, what neighborhood meetings we had on, and they were there at that one. Nobody really cared for them because what was going on in the rest of the city, like the taxes and all this stuff, and so we didn't want it down here. We didn't want anything like an HOA down here. We just wanted friendly, look out for each other people. And but I know today, and Kelly can explain more about them, but they can do some great stuff down here if they do get here. I think we're going to end up being the whole city's going to be under the CRA, Community Redevelopment.
I don't think that.
You don't think so? Good. Tell them. I just figured that's where we were going.
Not because I know any better, just because. Okay, so let's rewind a little bit and go back.
Yeah.
So,
I told you.
okay, so the neighborhood shot down the opportunity to join the CRA, partially because they didn't know exactly what it was, and they were a little fearful of having so much oversight that they would be hindered from putting certain siding on their house or painting their house purple, or I don't know what, all the things that they were afraid of at the time, but they chose not to. And at that time, the city acquired the entirety of the ACW site, which is 18 acres, plus a little stretch of actual residential areas in our neighborhood that is on the northeast. So it's on the north side of Gimbel and the east side of the site. So there's like a little tiny strip of houses in our neighborhood in Sanders Beach that is part of the CRA, and also the entirety of the site. None of this was known. Keith didn't know this. The neighborhood didn't know this. Nobody knew this. I'll just say that we had a meeting with the CRA last week, and I did bring to their attention that, I was like, we've been having meetings with the EPA, and we've been having neighborhood meetings, discussing progress on the site and future reuse. I mean, since I've been in the neighborhood, we've been having these meetings regularly. The CRA has not ever attended a single neighborhood meeting, an EPA meeting. We had meetings with, the EPA hired a company to help us configure all the soil that's going to go on the site and the topography and the shape that's going to take. We had multiple meetings with the city, with the Army Corps of Engineers and FDEP, and all of these people were involved. We wanted all the important people at the table. CRA wasn't even there. So that being said, we all found out that the ACW was part of the CRA in June of this year, and that was news to everybody. So the CRA kind of all of a sudden asserts themselves into the, a conversation, and we're like, skirt, like what? Huh? So it's been a lot of and there's been strange decisions and things that have changed and been made ever since then. Anyway, looking forward, it's not the worst thing ever. There is a lot. The CRA has tons of money. So in terms of actually having that turn into a park, it'll be good to have access to funds that we otherwise wouldn't have. Yeah. And we just, I think that the last CRA meeting, I haven't even gotten to talk to you much about it, but I quickly, they presented what they thought was what the neighborhood wanted based on the survey from SCIO, but they never saw the raw data. They just got the info from SCIO, and some of it was correct and a lot of it was incorrect. So I corrected them, showed them the raw data, showed them.
I was out of town, though. I've been right there beside them.
Yeah, but I think that they heard us, they listened, we went around the room. So I feel like we've got the CRA at least kind of understanding where we're at, where we're coming from, what we would like to see, what we wouldn't like to see. And I just tried to put them in their place and be like, hey guys, y'all just showed up to this conversation, but there's been a lot of us. I've only been here since 2016, but there's been a lot of people in this neighborhood who have been keeping a close eye on everything ACW for decades. So just to waltz in and be like, we know exactly what's going on. Just, take a step back and maybe just listen for a minute. And they did, so that was promising.
Yeah.
And then you talked a little bit about the plans for the site after remediation. Do you feel like those plans are a reflection of what the community wanted?
So that's an interesting question too. So, going back to shortly after I got involved in the board, we canvassed the neighborhood and did a survey and got some results of what people wanted to see for future reuse. At that time, it was very much not an active park, but a passive park. So lots of trees and walkways, bike paths, not tennis and basketball and soccer fields. So things that would be more low key and quiet and not big, attract busloads of people and, active activities. So more of a passive park. We resurveyed the neighborhood last year and got more information, and it was still trending towards passive park. And honestly, part of the reason that the neighborhood ended up choosing the topography that they did, which is to have the dirt piled up high on the west side, was to limit the amount of activities that could go there. Because if it was one big flat 18-acre area, you could put 6 soccer fields and it could become a soccer complex. So part of the rationale behind the topographical features that the neighborhood voted on was kind of to ensure that the park wouldn't be filled with all kinds of, activities. So, like I said, the CRA, presented their interpretation of the data to us, and there was things that were completely, just a reflection to me that they have not been in this conversation very long. They were like, yeah, there's the Sun Trail, right, which is basically this path that is that the Department of Transportation is funding, giving money to cities to have a multi-use path along their waterfront. So they wanted that trail to come down Cypress Street, which is the main street through here. And we had suggested having it, instead of come down Cypress, take a jog and go down Pine Street right here, because it's not a paved road. Most people don't want it to be a paved road. So when they presented and you don't know this yet, but then when they presented all the information to us, they had a 2-lane paved road, Pine Street, with parallel parking, with a whole thing of parallel parking. And we were like, we have had meetings and meetings and meetings and meetings, and everybody in the neighborhood has said, we absolutely don't want Pine to be paved. Nobody wants that. We don't want parking and entrances to the park. We want all the parking and to be on the north side of the site and not on the residential side. So we want pedestrian entrances only on the south border of the park. So there was stuff like that was just glaringly wrong, and I was like, okay, this is a good indicator that you guys are just new to this conversation. So let me just tell you how adamantly the neighborhood and how many meetings we've had saying that we want exactly opposite of what you have,
What
you
you
know,
just
here.
said.
Yes. And then there was some other things. They're like, well, the neighborhood voted in favor of like a dog park and pickleball. And I said, okay, let me show you the data. There was 30 surveys filled out. And out of those 30 surveys, there was, 1 vote for dog park and 1 vote for pickleball. Or 2 or 3. It was a very low number. I can't remember exactly. And I was like, as opposed to the 19 votes in favor of a walking path. I was like, so, and I had, put everything in, like
Perspective.
order of like popularity, like walking paths, gardens, meeting spaces, all that stuff. And so, I was like, although this ranked in at number 5, it still, only had this many votes. So I kind of, just gave them the raw data, and they were happy because they had not seen that before. So I think that we got them on the right page for what the neighborhood wants. But I also was adamant in saying, I don't think it's advisable to come up with a solid plan right now because we're so far out. The remediation itself is going to take a minimum of 4 years.
Yeah,
And that's,
cleaning the yards. And
well, no, that's the entire remediation. And I don't,
Yeah.
just the way that everything moves, I doubt that it'll be 4 years. I'm like 4 to 7 years is really like the
you've been hanging out
time
with me too
frame
long.
that I think is realistic. I mean, if it gets done in 4 years, great. But even if it does, so we're looking at implementation of reuse stuff at the earliest 5 years from now. And I think it would be negligent to get a solid plan right now because the neighborhood's going to look different in 5 years, right? Like we're going to have new people in here. And I think that we have to resurvey at that time when we're closer to actually implementing, which I think is going to be closer to like 8 years down the road by the time we're actually really talking about putting things into the park and making it a park. So, I made sure to say, hey, I know that in order to get funding, you have to have a plan, but I just hope that this plan can flex and change and you can resurvey the neighborhood because I think it would be negligent not to do that. Mm-hmm. Because, yeah, sure, like pickleball's really trendy right now. And it might be still in 5 years. I don't know. Mm-hmm. But it might be something else. You know what I mean? So, anyway, I think, like I said, I think we got those points across to them, hopefully.
I know you did, so I just wish
Yeah.
I was there to watch it. Because she's good.
Yeah, and Dixie, how do you kind of feel about what Kelly was just talking about? I was wondering.
Well, I'm 100%. Y'all are hearing all the noise we hear now from downtown. You get a pickleball court, all the bop, the bop, the bop. I mean, nothing against it. I think it's probably great to do. But we have a lot of traffic already down here, from the community center. There's no parking as it is. On any given day, I'm surprised it's not today, you'd have people parked all the way down in front of Kelly's house to go to the center down there. And then they'd park on both sides and nobody can get up and down the road hardly for emergency vehicles or anything. But having said that, I mean, it's been that way for a while now and that doesn't happen all the time, thank goodness, but they do have a lot of activities down there and a lot of traffic. And to me, I'm all about passive. I like walking, and that's what it's going to be. That's what I'd vote for, and I have several surveys now. So
At the meeting, we went around the room, and I think everybody was kind of like in favor of beautification with
Yes.
lots of plants and trees. There's lots of votes for disc golf, which is good news. It's not like a lot of people come. It's like a couple people just walking around, and it's not super obnoxious in terms of like activities,
Right.
active activities.
and that's-
And most people were just, really wanting. There's a lot of talk about trees and plants and making it, beautiful. So that was good.
That would be great. More oxygen, the better. I like. I'm all
And
about
shade.
and shade and.
Yeah.
But you can't plant on most of it.
Well, we can now. So there's been some changes that have happened.
I didn't even know that
Well,
because of the cap and all that.
well, the cap's only going to be on the west side now,
Oh.
and the whole entire east side. There's some things that are good and also suspicious about all of this, but I'll keep my conspiracy theories to myself because they're not useful.
Y'all
but
see why I love her, right? Y'all understand. She's right. She's.
the whole entire the pond was supposed to be on the east side, and then everything west of the pond was going to be capped, which was limiting. You can't penetrate the caps. You can't plant trees, can't have buildings, can't do any of that stuff.
Make it to the last meeting. So that's changed already. That's how fast they.
So the pond is now going to be in the middle, and that leaves the whole east side open for activities and things. And so what, our fear as a neighborhood is that if we don't actually get activities going over there, the city could potentially rezone that land and sell it, and it could go for commercial or residential or something like that. So we are kind of in the works of ensuring that that east side of the park remains park for public use, and that won't, so trying to come up with a way to, solidify and ensure that in the future that will not be turned into something that the neighborhood doesn't want it to be turned into. And then having the conversation with the CRA about what we do want to see there. So.
And this tree's still going too?
Oh, yeah. I mean, unfortunately, yes. I mean, that's never going to change.
That's my little thing. They got these beautiful oaks down there. They're going to take them out and then plant more trees. And I haven't figured that out yet. What's wrong with the ones that are doing their job now?
I mean, nothing's wrong with them, but for remediation purposes, we've tried to save the trees, but they won't do it. Like,
She's
it's
so
not
tired of
even.
me saying it.
Well, I mean, I hear you. It makes me, I'm going to be very sad. It's going to be like gut wrenching to see that whole thing just like, it's like a whole forest right there, a little pocket forest that's just going away, and that's awful. I mean, losing one tree there was like, it left a void in my life and my heart for a long time. It was like hard to walk around the neighborhood without wanting to cry. So I'm sure it'll be powerful when all of that comes down and it's just a big, but
Having said that,
we now aren't limited by the cap, and we can replant that area. So that is a positive of this change that happened kind of last minute, just this year, in the 11th hour, about the pond moving to the center of the site. So.
And we just hope we don't get flooded when it doesn't hold all the water from a lot of rain we do get here, because it's going to come right down the street.
We talked to the CRA about that too, and having that as one of the most important issues to people is drainage and flooding.
Drainage,
Watershed. Yeah.
So it's always something. It's just, we get new people in too, whether they're at the CRA or they're going to have more ideas of different things, but.
And one question that's kind of came up throughout our trip so far is, what would justice look like to you guys?
Justice?
I'll let you answer that one because you've been dealing with
Justice would be them actually, I know it's better now than it ever has been, and they actually got attention now than we ever had over my 100 years of fighting it. But justice would be just getting something that the neighborhood wants and do it. I mean, let's just do it. You got the funding, all this red tape, all this paperwork. I know it takes time, and it's going to take time. But now that we actually got something going, we're still waiting on some of the things to get done. And it's just, and like Kelly said earlier, I mean, I don't talk political about nothing, but she had a good point. We might, because even our congressman in this area wanted to abolish the EPA. So who knows what is for the future, but we do need to get it moving. That would be justice for this area, and for me. Before I am 6 foot under, I'd like to see something for her children, my son, his children, and all the other young people that have moved in. That would be justice, just getting it cleaned up and safe for them. My tenure down here is living every day to the fullest, but these kids, I want something good for them, the young people. That would be justice for me. And I think that's what I'm going to put across. Justice was done. I'm just kidding. But you know what I mean. I mean, it's just, been watching it.
Don't step off the bank.
Been watching, my daughter. I've just been watching it so long, I'm just ready for it. I'm just ready. And I know she's ready for it, and she's been here since 2016, so she knows, kind of my feelings on it. God bless you. You had to hear it. So, yeah, that's me. That's justice. Justice for these kids, the young people. And their children. And their children. You know, this is such a beautiful area. I just want it clean. That's it.
And it looked, oh, do you want
I was just going to say I have nothing to add to that. That was, yeah. Nothing else to add. That was well stated. Just seeing it come to fruition and be safe for the neighborhood for sure, and for all the people that have been here dealing with it their entire life.
And that's about my time for speaking. So I'm going to open up the floor to my colleagues if they have any questions.
Y'all be kind now. Y'all were last time.
Hi, I'm Madison. Earlier in the conversation, you mentioned about the Bipartisan Funding Act, and I was wondering if you could kind of explain how that's helping to push the remediation forward.
Yes. So all the aspects of this project, the like I can't what the final plan is called is like I'm spacing out on what that is now, but pretty much all the ducks have been in a row on this project. We've been ready to go on it for a long time, but the EPA did not have the funding to fund the project. So the bipartisan infrastructure law gave, was it 1 point something?
Some million, I know we get.
No, it was billion. And so
yeah,
it was like 49 projects got funded, and ours was one of those 49 projects. So we have $40 million allocated to the cleanup of this site. It was 35, and that, just because obviously times change and prices go up and all that, it got bumped up to $40 million. So that is money that is currently set aside for this project specifically. Before the Bipartisan Infrastructure Act, that the money wasn't allocated, so that's.
And it's there making interest, so we might even have more, hopefully, but Peter has his eye on it, and I told him, I said, you can put it in my account. It's okay, I'll watch it for you. He didn't go along with that. But anyway, I'd watch it like a hawk, because I want it done.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Hi, this is Becca Burton. Kelly, earlier in the conversation, you made a comment how kind of this week you had a renewed sense of motivation, and I was hoping you could expand on that a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, it's kind of a weird time where mostly we don't talk about politics because it's hard, but I am devastated. It might be an understatement. By the result of this election, and it's partially because I'm afraid of what the next 4 years is going to look like and what the lasting damage could potentially be. And the other part is sad because it's like, this is what the country wanted, so like this is what the people voted for, and I have to accept that I'm in maybe a minority of people that value things like, human rights and the environment, and, so those, I don't know, like it's like hard not to get emotional about it now. But anyway, so I've been through, just like I'm sure a lot of people this week have been through the roller coaster of emotions of just like being like, you know what, this is what the people wanted, so screw it, let's watch it burn, let's see what happens now. We're going to get what we asked for, we're going to get what we deserve. So there's that spiteful, whatever, let's watch it burn. And then I go into, no, I have a son, and I need to, get back into this and be an activist and do something and make the change that I want to see. And then I go into just wanting to crawl under a rock and not get out of bed for a week and just say, you know what, I can't control what's going on around me. I can only control the things in my life. And then there's the side of me that's like, maybe I'll just move out of the country. So, I mean, those are the like extremes of the emotions that I've felt. Realistically, I feel like I am going to come back and land on the, all right, it's time to get shit done. It's time to get involved. And make the change that I want to see for my son's future, and not, just say, screw it, let's watch it burn.
See, in my opinion too, is that yes, if I was her or any of y'all that's got children or plan to have children, you can't stop what's happening. I mean, we tried. Whatever. I don't know what your affiliation is. It doesn't matter. Now we're just going to have to go with the flow and hope for the best. And honestly, they're going to do what they're going to do. But just take care of yourself. And like Kelly said, and she will, advocate, you take care of Enzo, and they have to take care of what's coming in February. And it's just, there's nothing to make yourself, I guess my point is, especially with her, let it go. Because there's nothing else you can do but just take care of yourself, your family, and like you said, it could be crashing and burning. I mean, I hope not. I hope we don't get in another war, I just want it a peaceful transition for all of y'all, coming up, and y'all could be my future presidents, if I live that long. No, I'm just kidding. Y'all can do it now. Y'all can do a better job. So, I don't know. I could rattle on too, but no, you can't let it get you sick, I guess is what I'm saying. You can't let it make you sick for what has happened, because you couldn't prevent it. And the people that want to die, they're going to have to deal with it too. So, we're all going to have to, but they're going to really have to thank themselves if something does crash and burn or whatever. But it is what it is. You just be the best people you are, and do the best things you can. And just don't let it get you down.
That's the challenge, right?
That's the challenge.
Keep your head up and
Keep your head, hey.
proactive.
And y'all are doing a great job, because we need y'all in the environment. Trust me. So stay in this class and graduate. And I want to see graduations from all of you. No, they are. It's getting closer.
Yeah, and I'm Beckett, and I want to follow up on that a little bit. And sort of, you guys have both mentioned raising families here. You have Enzo, and I wanted to know a little bit, this is more a question for Kelly, but Dixie, you can obviously speak to this too. How did becoming a mom influence your work in community organizing and activism?
Yeah, I think it kicked it into, more urgent. I've always been happy to fight for issues that are important to me, or stand up, or have an opinion, talk to people, get involved on issues that were important to me. But yeah, I mean, just being in this neighborhood and feeling so connected to this spot, I love it here. I'm happy. I love Sanders Beach, and I have a lot of people that are like, you live next to a toxic dump site essentially, and I'm like, yeah, but we're gonna it's gonna get cleaned up, it's gonna be awesome someday. And everyone's like,
Yes, it is.
Anyway, so I want to stay here. I want Enzo to be able to come outside and play in the dirt, and I don't want to be scared that he's gonna get his hands dirty and then go eat something and put toxic dirt in his mouth, And I want him, my partner and I, Tony, are talking about, this is not, like I said, a second Trump presidency is certainly not what I would have ever hoped for. Having a child now, it was sad before, and now it's a different level of sad. I am gratefully so young, I think, because a lot of the conversations that are happening, a lot of that divisiveness and ugliness I mean, I think everybody knows it's an issue, so hopefully we can maybe try to remedy that over the next 4 years, but he's so young that that's not really soaking into his brain. You know, I wake up the day after the election and I just like don't want to get out of bed, but I have a 3-year-old who doesn't care about who the president is or what's going on, so life goes on, right? Like that's a good reminder that life is going to go on. We have to pick up and continue on, and Tony and I want to, you know, we do want to get back involved. It has renewed our sense of like, we need to do something. We need to get Enzo involved and be like, dude, this is what we're doing. We're standing up for what we feel is right. And so, yeah, it's motivating, and because, you know, it does change when you have a kid and you want to show them a different world than, you know, you experienced. You want it to be better, right? You want to make it better. So that's why I'll be getting back into it soon. Right now I'm feeling sorry for myself and, you know, being a little, taking some time to just feel all of the emotions and then hopefully turn that into something proactive and productive starting next week.
I'm glad to hear that. Well, but with me, I mean, Cole was born in '85, and sorry, Cole. And you know, when he was a toddler, 2-year-old, you know, he had to wear shoes around here. I wouldn't let him just run free and play in all the dirt and all that, because at that time I knew what was going on, and they just shut it down at 1982. So I knew it was still pretty raw. You know, when it rained, you could smell it coming down your streets and stuff like that. So, and I hate that because, you know, a kid's a kid. A 2-year-old's a 2-year-old. They're going to have mud pies. They're going to do all kinds of stuff. But he could not do that here, you know. And he didn't know it at the time what he was missing. But, you know, it's just one of those things. And just like Enzo, I wouldn't want to see him barefooted today, even though I think it's safer now than it ever has been. It's still not there. It's still contaminated soil, and that's my feelings, you know, because I even back in the '80s, you know, I was the same way as Kelly. You know, she don't want her child doing the way I grew up. We did have mud pies. We did, you know, clean our dogs and cats that got in the Crusoe pools with no gloves. We didn't have a clue that was, you know, toxic. You know, nobody back then did in the you know, the 60s and the 70s. So I'm glad you're getting back into it. And I'll be there. I'll be there.
Hi, my name is Sophia Cachaldora, and this is a question for Dixie. So, Dixie, when we first met you in June, you shared a lot about health impacts in the neighborhood, having known what you do for so long. Yesterday, talking to Mike, we got to learn more about your history of even 20 years ago, working to involve UWF and local hospitals in understanding those health effects. Would you be willing to talk more about that experience and your experience with the health research and advocacy side of things?
Well, back in those days, we tried to get them to do a survey of the health issues down here, you know, because me being a colon cancer survivor at the age of 34, and several of my neighbors around here were kind of getting cancer, you know, and all this, and I'm not saying it was directly to that, but I had no history of that in my family. But we did, and they didn't think there was enough people, I guess I hate to say it bluntly, dying in the neighborhood to do anything, you know, about it at the time. I think we brought it up not too long ago again. You know, there's still, you know, people, I mean, I'm fortunate to still be here myself, you know, because I had a lot of hit and misses, you know, with tumors and everything. And so, but having said that, I don't, Mike probably has a better memory than I do, but no, we couldn't get their attention to come clean it up, you know, to just do a survey. I mean, I tried it, you know, and I got people's names, and, you know, this is what they had. And you had MS going around in here. You had lung cancers. You had colon cancer. You had all kinds of tumors, and they were back then it was very, wow, what is going on? And nobody even really thought about the creosote until we did, and we found out how toxic it was. But what can you do? You can't prove that that's what caused it. I don't have a history in my whole family of colon cancer, but you can't, what can you say, but that's, I did try, but I don't know. I hope I answered your question.
Yes, you did. Thank you so much.
Hi, this is Liya Johny. On a lighter side, if you both are able to see a complete cleanup that you both are happy with, what is the first thing that you two would do together to celebrate?
Definitely crack a bottle of wine.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, like that is exciting. I'm excited at the prospect of being able to just walk over there and have it be a beautiful park that we can walk around and enjoy the space and not have it be this chain link fence with danger. You know what I mean? That's just been this dark. So yeah, just being able to walk over and have it be a beautiful space that we can enjoy. And
We're definitely gonna celebrate. I'll tell you that. She doesn't have a clue what I have planned, so we definitely gonna celebrate.
Yeah, it is an exciting thought to have it to think about
I'll have
it
security
coming
there too,
to
okay?
fruition and being a beautiful space. And I think it's going to be the reason I can't get excited about that is because it's so far away. But I am optimistic. I am optimistic, and I think it'll we're going to have to keep advocating if we want for what we want to see there. But I have like I said, I try to remain engaged with the city and the CRA and make sure that the neighborhood has a seat at the table and is part of that conversation, so we can really be proud of it afterwards and say, yes, this is what we worked so hard for. So.
Figure out what she's doing back there. Do you need the hose, baby?
No, it's fine. There's just a spot.
A spider.
Oh, sorry.
No, it's all good. I guess the last thing I'll say, is there anything else that we didn't cover that you guys want to share?
No, they covered
I think
a lot.
I think we've talked it
Y'all
all.
heard the goods and the bads.
Gone round and round.
See how we are, and no, I think y'all are doing an excellent job. I just keep it up, keep that spirit up.
Yeah.
That's from me, and I know she appreciates the help y'all are doing too, because it's up to y'all. That's just how I look at it now. I tried. No, I'm just kidding. But no, y'all. I'm very proud to be part of this, and I'm very appreciative y'all thinking enough of us to come down here and enjoy this nice breeze and Sanders Beach, and I hope the rest of your trip goes very well. And if I don't see y'all again or hear from you, I'm already congratulating y'all when y'all do get that 2025 degree. Is that when it is? 2025? Okay. So y'all just keep on keeping on. It's all about y'all and all about how y'all handle all this mess going on that us older people created for y'all. So y'all just
Thanks, Dixie. Just put all the weight on the younger generation. But yeah.
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
I was here at one time, y'all's age, so we had the weights too. So you're gonna be fine. All y'all are great, and I appreciate you, all of you.
Yes, thank you for this and taking the time and valuing our our opinions and wanting to hear what we have to say. It's
And I'll
nice.
let you know about that party. Maybe y'all can come.
Yeah, exactly.
So anyway.
Well, thank you so much for letting us talk to you today, and we'll go ahead and end it right there.
All right.
Okay.
Thanks.
Very good.
All right.